on YouTube going over the top 50 fantasy football players, the expert consensus rankings that are kind of out there. I collected them. I have them right here for you. And we're going to break them down. We're going to look at all of the top ranked players across the board in the fantasy football industry. Expert consensus. I got probably Michael in the house right now. Michael, you're always first to thumbs up and comment. So I'm imagining I'm going to see you comment here in a second. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through like the top 10, tell you who I think is getting taken too high. There he is, Michael. I knew he'd be here. Michael, are you a robot? What's up, Gary? Going to go through the top 10. Then I'm going to go through the next 10 and then the next 5 there. Then jump on over to this list over here. So again, if you're just joining us, these are the top 50 overall ranked players according to an average of expert consensus rankings out there. And let's see what it's similar to ADP data, really. But the thing here is you tend to see, I think, more of an accurate depiction of what you're going to see like in August versus an ADP ranking, because you have a bunch of experts being pooled together for these rankings. And I think what that does is it gets you a lot more accurate, like in the know type of rankings. You get people that are on the news a little bit more. You don't get some of these like people mock drafting and screwing up all the data because they have basically let me move some of my cameras here. 1 second. Yeah, people mock drafting and basically drafting their homer favorite teams from their best team, their homer team or whatever, or they're in some kind of rookie draft and they're screwing up ADP data. You just traded 1.02 in a rookie draft for what? What did you trade for, though? What's up, Killa? What's up, Ball is Life? Hit that thumbs up on the way in. Okay, so let's talk a little fantasy football. It's a little late tonight. We might have a little less in the room, but hopefully if you guys keep hitting that thumbs up on your way in, YouTube will send more people to us and say, hey, this show needs to reach more people that are looking for live content right this very second. Okay, so what we're going to do is go through the top 10, and we're going to go like in a batch of 10, but these are the expert consensus rankings out there for fantasy football 2019. Killer, how is Mac 26 and Jones 35? That's a good question, but let's break it down. So Barkley, Elliott, Kamara, or McCaffrey, Kamara. We see that in every mock draft. That's not unusual. Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think that's unusual either. Again, I like Kamara 1. DJ and Gordon are kind of interchangeable, although there is news out as of yesterday that they really like Edmonds, but I'm not too worried about that report. I mean, you could ask a coach that about any backup player. They're going to talk a backup player up. I'm not too worried about DJ, but I think Gordon ranks 5 for me anyways. DJ is kind of like, if I had the 5 pick in a few leagues, I might go DJ in 1 and Gordon and Hopkins in the other 2, or even Adams. So I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket with any of DJ, Melvin Gordon, or like a Le'Veon Bell. Michael says, should I trade for Adams, giving up Aaron Jones, Sterling Shepard, 2022 for Davante Adams? Yes, I would do that in a heartbeat. I don't like Sterling Shepard like a lot of people do. I would go get Adams, get the bigger gun. My other running back is Zeke, he says. Go get Adams. Stay away from Josh Jacobs, says Matthew. I don't know that I say stay away from him, but I'm in agreement that he is not the top-ranked rookie running back, in my opinion. Gary says, Smitty, Hill or AB? I am going to say AB without hesitation because we don't know what's going on with Hill. I need Coke to endorse me. I'm drinking a Coke on here like every time. Hill could be suspended for half a season. He could get an entire year. He could get 0 games, but we don't know. So AB is already a second rounder. If Hill was, let's say, news broke tomorrow saying Tyreek Hill won't be suspended a single game, then he'd still get ranked right where AB is. So, Gary, you're overthinking this, buddy. AB by a lot. And I like Hill, but you're way overthinking that. But good question. A lot of people probably are asking it. And Slim is asking on these rankings, how is Mac 26 and Jones 35? So we'll get to that, Slim. We'll get to that. Let's move this logo right smack in the middle. Okay. So Gordon, I like there. David Johnson, I'm iffy on that. I think I'd rather rank Hopkins, I think, right ahead of him, but DJ's definitely not like out of place there. Le'Veon Bell, Adams. Adams is right about in the spot that I would rank him. Bell's a spot or two higher, but Mixon is the guy that sticks out like a sore thumb in these rankings, and I think that in ADP data he's right around there as well. Way too high. Now, I get ripped apart for my Mixon doubt, and I get it. But the bottom line is this. I talked about it with James Conner. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on James Conner. Don't worry. Please don't leave thinking that's all I'm going to do. And I beat a dead horse with Todd Gurley. No, I won't continue to talk about Todd Gurley. I've talked about both of those and beat those like a dead horse. But Mixon I have as well. And just like I think people called me crazy then, but aren't necessarily calling me crazy now about my don't draft James Conner or Todd Gurley in anywhere near the first round. And that was crazy. Now nobody is. I'm saying the same thing about Mixon. Don't touch him in the first round. I think that he could earn that value. Sure. But Mixon comes with a lot of risk, a lot of red flags on and off the field. Injury risk, in my opinion. He played hurt, but you could say, oh, he didn't miss X number of games. But I just think he's a mixed bag of injury risk, bad situation that a lot of people think is good situation. I get it if you're a Mixon owner. You're not going to like me right now. That's par for the course. But I think that when you're talking about a very inexperienced coaching staff that they both, the OC and head coach, are converted QB coaches, and they specialize in the QB, and they have Andy Dalton to work with. I'm not excited about that Cincinnati offense, at least the passing attack. Boyd and Green could get a lot of targets down the stretch in games in the third and fourth quarter. That could be good. But Mixon's not going to find the holes that I think everybody's going to hope that he finds. And so for me, at the bottom of the second, where he won't likely fall, I'm probably not going to own Mixon in 2009 and I'm 19, and I'm okay with that. But I'm not drafting him in the first round or anywhere near it, and that's me. Can you recommend? This is Jackson's asking. Can you recommend a good QB wide receiver stack? I love, and I've been talking up the Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman handcuff situation before it even became amazing after their news broke that the Hill may not even be suspended, or he may get 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 versus an entire year, which everybody was assuming. But my favorite stack was Mahomes, and then you're drafting Mecole Hardman before Hill, before that news broke, and then Hill right after it, kind of back-to-back picks there, and that stack was amazing. Now it's still okay if you can get Hill, even Kelce and Hill and Mahomes is good, but for me, I'd have to say Davante Adams and Rodgers is a fun stack. But Hill, Hardman, and Mahomes are a great way to do that. And then Breeze is going in like double-digit rounds in some cases. So if you have Mike Thomas, that's not a bad stack either. There's a lot of stacks. You can do a lot of ways. I don't know that I could even do, I'd probably go 10 minutes on that topic. It's a good one, but okay. So we got Connor at 11, way too high. Way too high. And I don't even know how that's still there. I think maybe some experts aren't even updating since the news broke, weeks ago, that they might be looking at a committee type situation. So kind of funny that like ADP data, even the expert consensus rankings out there, a big mix of experts ranking together, and then average is even showing Connor up at 11, which is just ludicrous. Matthew has a question or a comment. Let's read it. People calling me crazy for having Damian Williams higher than Mixon, Connor, and Cook. You're not crazy, and whoever's calling you crazy really probably isn't in the know. That's preference. That's not crazy. That's preference. If someone had Mixon higher and Connor higher and then Cook and Damian, that's not madness either. I think you're good any way you rank those guys in terms of being, arguable. But for me, Cook and Damian are a whole level above Mixon and Connor because of the risk factor. Now, can they all score about the same? Probably. But I'm predicting either something unfolding badly for Mixon or the situation is just not as good as people think. Or with Connor's case, I'm predicting that, that isn't a clear-cut running back one situation like people think, and that Samuels might be the best option because you can get him really late, handcuff him to Snell if your rosters are deep. If you can't do that, if your rosters are very small and you can only take a couple of running backs, then, and you're playing like in Yahoo, they're very small rosters, then you can't really do things like that. Okay. Let's see here. Let's get back into it. If I missed a question, post it again because I must have missed it. Oh, here's one from Gary. Hit that thumbs up, guys. Come on. Smitty, Kelce, the best tight end. Who is the next two? Well, the next two are clear as day. Kittle and Ertz. I mean, you're not going to find probably anywhere anybody ranking those tight ends differently than that. I think you have Ertz in the third round, though. You have Kittle in the second round. And if we look at it here, so yeah, Kittle's showing up at number 22, but that's really high. He's going in the third round in most drafts. So the expert rankings here, one reason I'm even talking about this is because they're not going to line up quite with ADP. So it's fun to look at what are experts thinking on average versus what, and I can tell you the ADP is lower. So it's kind of fun to talk about this and debate the two. But I think if you're looking at Kittle in the third round versus Kelce in the first, or some people are taking him in the first, which I think is just way too high. But on paper, he's arguable in the second round. But if you're taking Kittle in the third, and I think Kittle myself has a real shot at, let me get that drink out of the way there. Kittle has a real shot at being the number one tight end this year. I really firmly believe that. I think Kelce probably will finish higher, but Kittle has a chance to be that good. And when you can get a tight end of that caliber in the third round, I think you're taking an unnecessary risk taking a tight end early if you can get that kind of guy later. Where are we at? Julio, number 12. I like Julio at 12, but I think Odell Beckham Jr. would probably get drafted by me higher than Julio if I had just one number 12 pick and I had to make that decision. I'd probably split it. Like I always say a lot of times. Tony dropping the super chat. Attaboy, Tony. That's what I'm talking about. Tony, super chat. Tony, you know what that means, Tony? Tony's the leading super chatter. And Tony, I answer your question above anybody else. If you have a question, I drop it on screen and I stop what I'm doing. So Tony's the super chat leader. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it, my man. Julio. So Julio, Odell. I like Odell higher, but I like to get Odell in the second round though. So definitely let him fall if possible. Then I think Kelce's, on paper makes sense at number 14 overall. He really does, but I never, ever like my team walking out of my draft when I take Kelce in the second round or draft Kelce, period, because he commands at least like a late second or an early second or a late first. And just do a mock draft and look at your team. It just looks a little thin. And when you can take, like, let's say you get the 4 pick. I always use this example because I think Kamara is a really good, player to use because he's kind of in the middle of, the 4 to, players like in that 4 to 6 range. The pod is calling the Kittle. Michael, come on. Michael's always first in these. You don't like, I don't like, this is from Matthew. I don't like Julio because you don't like stacking wide receivers and you take it takes Calvin Ridley out of play for you. I could understand that. I want Calvin Ridley in every single one. Yeah. Moneybags Tony. Moneybags Tony's in the super chat. Tony, where's your question? Oh, here we go. Tony's question. Tony, sorry guys. Tony gets first dibs here. Tony is a super chat leader. Brand new to the stuff, Smitty. Love it. Love it so far. I can really win a league with Dak Prescott as your QB1. Depends on who you have, Tony. There is a good chance that if you're drafting a QB that late, you're stacking pretty well at your other position. So it's certainly possible. But my question would be to you, Tony, what other QBs were there when you were drafting Dak Prescott? So if it's like a Ben Roethlisberger, I kind of like him more. Drew Brees is falling to double-digit rounds. So do you really have to wait for Dak Prescott to be your starting quarterback? Because you can take a Drew Brees in like 10, round 9, round 10. Brady as well. I'm not saying Brady will for sure outscore Dak, but I kind of think he would. I might be in the minority in that. But for me, yeah, I'm not sure I'm comfortable starting Dak, but it completely depends on, do you already have this team rostered? If you do, please list who you have. And if you haven't drafted yet, if this is like your preemptive approach or, you know, a conversation about who you're going to draft at QB, I take a different QB. I take a Baker Mayfield's falling to like the 7 or 8 range. And when you get to like round 7, 8, Tony, you're talking about very like sketchy players and names that you're like, well, do I take a stab? I mean, Sterling Shepard went in the 8th round in our expert league right now on Instagram, and it's full of experts. And for me, it's like Baker Mayfield's there, a couple other players are there. Why take a player like that? And you can tell me you like Sterling Shepard. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody out there, but I take a backup QB like Baker Mayfield to lock down my QB situation through thick and thin, injury or whatever, over taking a player like Sterling Shepard or whatever. So my advice to you, Tony, is go get like a Baker Mayfield. If you've already drafted, please post your team and let's talk about what options you might have on the table as far as trades. Yeah, Tony's our super chat. He gets to interrupt all of you whenever he wants. Okay. Gary. Smitty, where do you draft Raiders running back? The Raiders running back they drafted out of Alabama. Jacob, so Gary, I don't know in redraft where I would recommend. I would say like late 3rd or early 4th is a decent spot. Even I would take a chance on that maybe. I wouldn't take a Montgomery. I'd take, like, honestly, he's worthy of like a top 24 pick, but probably more of like your 3rd rounder. But if you could take him at the end of the 2nd, I'd be okay with that actually. But I think you're going to be in a much better position if you can take Montgomery at like the top of the 3rd. But Jacobs, I don't find him going that high, and if he did, I would let somebody else take him. So top of the 4th would be where I would look for him, and I might not find him there. Late 3rd, I would consider it, but it depends on the other options. In the 3rd round, rarely do you hear me say this because the thin round's always so thin. The 3rd round, the thin round. The 3rd round I call the thin round. Usually year after year after year, in the 3rd round, I trade it. I try and trade my 3rd rounder to move my 4th into the 2nd. It's always such a weird round. But this year, there are 3 players that time after time after time I end up taking, if I can, if they're there. Damian Williams at the top of the 3rd, and I have people tell me all the time he won't fall. He falls all the time. He may not fall in every draft. If you do one draft, he may not fall in your draft. That's the kicker when somebody goes, Smitty, he'd never fall. Well, how many leagues do you play in? 1. You're like, okay, well, that might be why. And or if you're in everybody thinks that my Pat Mahomes, take him in the 3rd round, is a great approach. Everyone thinks that's a dumb approach outside of like my community. The people in my community, my followers, my supporters, they understand the reasoning because they listen to my breakdown of it and why people are regurgitating over and over dumb information about how taking Pat Mahomes early is a bad move. That you have to wait on a quarterback because everybody does it. Well, the same thing is said all the time to me. They go, Smitty, talking about, I don't know. I need to get into it. All I'm trying to say is that there are tons of ways to draft And Tony, follow up if you have another question. There are tons of ways to draft. There are tons of ways to win. But time after time after time, in the third round, Damian Williams falls to the third round often, top of the third. George Kittle will fall into the top of the third. And Pat Mahomes will fall into the top of the third to the late third. Those guys, 9 times out of 10, if they're available, I'm taking one of those players every single time in my draft. So that's my advice in the third round. I had one guy send me a team yesterday because I have the Ask Smitty advice at sleeperu.com. Tony, are you a member of sleeperu.com? Oh, Tony's asking a question, guys. Tony's first. Tony, if you're not a member of sleeperu.com right here, sleeperu.com, you're going to really like that. It's pretty awesome content. That's where my bold predictions are. That's what a lot of everything is based off of that content. So, Tony. Look at Tony. Okay. I was in the 5 hole. DJ, JuJu, Aaron Jones, Cooks, Luck, Cook, Penny, Pettis, Kirk, Freeman, Dak. You guys see it on the screen. Okay, so you already drafted. That answers my question there. DJ was a good pick because we just talked about Gordon, DJ, Hopkins, Adams, all kind of right there. I could go either way. JuJu was a fantastic second-round pick. Great job. He's going at the bottom of the first round, so you have arguably 2 first-round picks, Tony. So awesome job thus far. I think, Luck, obviously, is your... So you're talking about a 2 QB league? Because Luck's obviously your starter. Are you trying to talk about trading him? Oh, already have 2... Sorry, I didn't read the last part. Already have 2 guys making offers for Luck. So tell me what the offers are, and if the offers are amazing, then yeah, it might be time to consider trading Luck if you can get another piece that will hit a home run and then Dak steps in and does an okay job. But I would look to obviously trade and get a undervalued Baker Mayfield, an undervalued Aaron Rodgers, an undervalued Drew Brees. Those are all good players to toss into this lineup. But Tony, tell me who you were talking about trade-wise. But, I mean, that's a good team. So Aaron Jones is a third rounder with probably that's not even a reach because his ADP's climbing. But I think, yeah, it depends on who is there. But I like that pick. I think he could hit a home run from that pick, from that value. And believe it or not, Aaron Jones, you'll find him on Sleeper U, some good things I've written about him. So don't trade him. I'm just saying, depending on who you could have got there, that tends to be a place where, some guys fall in the third round that I really, really like. But I like Aaron Jones a lot. You can read more about it on sleeperu.com when you get over there. Big season ahead for Aaron Jones. So right now you're killing it with your first 3 picks. Cooks was a solid pick, but he's gone later than the 4th round before. But you made up for it by taking Luck that late. I like Luck. I probably would trade him in the right circumstance, but you have an amazing team already. So good job with that building. Try and get Darrell Henderson. Is Darrell Henderson available on waivers? If he is, Tony, I hate to say this, but leave my show right now. Go pick up Darrell Henderson, then come back. He's the backup running back for, well, really, in my opinion, the starter for the Los Angeles Rams. All right, Tyler's got a question. Is there any chance Dalvin Cook can finish as the number 1 running back this year? Saw your video about him being very high on him. Great stuff. Thank you, Tyler. To answer your question, for sure. But, I mean, anybody in that, top 5 running back plateau, or I would say group is a better word. And in that group, I have, even, I'm not saying Damian Williams will be, but I'm saying Damian Williams is that 5 to 10 range. So Damian Williams, you draft him in the late 2nd round, hopefully top of the 3rd if you're lucky, and Damian Williams could skyrocket into the top 5 to 10. The guys that I think have the potential to be in the 1 to 5 range are, obviously the big 4 running backs. David Johnson has a chance, a smaller chance, but I think Dalvin Cook is right at the end of that top 1 to 5. He for sure could be, 2, 3. the odds of it being 1 are, I think, less than any of the big 4. And because the big 4 are so good this year, I think that it's a pretty low odds that he'll be number 1. But the odds of Dalvin Cook slipping into the big 4 and being one of the big 4 at the end of the year is not that crazy. Dalvin Cook could be a monster. He could get hurt. That's why he's only costing you a late second round pick. But Dalvin Cook has the upside, if healthy, to be a top 1 to 5 running back. No question about it. Tony Henderson went 6.12. Okay. Just making sure, my man. All right. Let's go through the rest of these rankings, and you guys have questions, toss them out. Oh, Roger's got one. Sorry. If I missed a question, please repost it. I'm sorry if I missed it. Gary, is there a rookie QB this year you drafted a keeper? Of course, Kyler Murray. But past that, I'm not super, super high on this rookie QB class. Smitty, Zeke, and Boyd for Adams and Aaron Jones. Which side? That's a tough one. Wow. You got Zeke ranked over Adams if you're going 1 for 1. So clearly, Zeke crushes that. But Aaron Jones over Boyd. I have to go with... God, that's a tough one. I have to go with Zeke, Boyd, but I think Aaron Jones, if he ends up panning out, that side could crush the other side. Because Jones has top 5 to 10. He's like Damian Williams. Aaron Jones and Damian Williams are in the same kind of category. They have a lot of risks, so you have to rank them in like the 18 to 35 range or whatever. Because Aaron Jones is going later. But both of them, if they put it all together, if they're healthy, both of them could climb all the way into 5 to 10 value. So I don't know. That's a tough one for me to answer now. I think you got to assume, okay, Jones has to prove a little more to me before I start to value him at this range right here. So for me, Zeke and Boyd, I think Boyd could have a really good year. Here's another question, and I'll get back to the expert rankings. Smitty, who would you take between O.J. Howard and Hunter Henry? O.J. Howard by, I think, by a decent amount. I like Hunter Henry. We just took him in the Instagram Expert League, where the followers draft my team. If you want to get involved in that, we're only in, I believe, the 8th round. And it takes forever. We're like 4 or 5 picks a day. Very, very drawn-out draft. And when we're on the clock as a community, so when the fantasy football show is on the clock, you guys will go into a live with me on Instagram. I'll go live. We draft players that you guys vote on, not me, and then we take it into battle together week in and week out. It's an awesome way for you and I to draft together and have a team together. It's the biggest expert league ever assembled. I created it, and it's been freaking amazing. Bigger response, more eyeballs than we ever thought. We have over 100,000 or 600,000 followers kind of combined, and it's just an amazing draft. So fun. But I'd take O.J. Howard ahead of him, all day long. But Hunter Henry we got like in round 8 or 7. Good question, though. Tyler, gut tells me Lindsey was one season wonder. What do you think? I don't know if I'd say that. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Very good running back. I had him ranked in the top 5 for all rookie running backs in January and then of his rookie year. And then he didn't make the combine. He got snubbed. He got hurt. And so naturally he got bumped out. But he was in my top 5 rookie running backs, and a lot of people didn't have him in there. So I saw talent in him. I don't think he was a fluke. I kind of like him. Do you think Carry-On is low on your list, or do you have concerns? On my list, this isn't my list. These are the expert consent. I should probably put that on screen, because if people are going to come on here, let me put that up here. Hold on one second. These are my rankings. If you're just joining, I wouldn't blame you for being confused and thinking that. Let me see if I can put up text here. These are expert Let me know if I spelled that wrong. Consensus. Okay. So these are expert consensus rankings right here. Not mine. Not my rankings. I repeat, not my rankings. Carry-On. Where's Carry-On falling? Where's Carry-On? 39. Very, very low. But, you know, you look at the talent around him, Robert Woods, Devonta Freeman, Aaron Jones. Below that, Kenny Golladay, Zach Ertz is really low. Wow, 41. That's odd. Why do you guys think Zach Ertz is ranking so low amongst all the experts? That's kind of crazy. That feels really low. What do you guys think of that? Why? Goddard? Is Goddard really going to bump him down that much? That seems crazy. Crazy low. Okay. Odell, I love at 13. Kelsey's too high. Mike Thomas at 15 is a bargain. Why? Because he could be as good as Davante Adams at 7. And Adams, we talked about ranking him between 5 and 8. So that means Mike Thomas and JuJu, they have top 5 to 10 overall value. Mike Thomas and JuJu are a steal at 15 and 16. So is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb at number 17 overall is like a home run. But these are redraft rankings, Matthew. So one more year, you're talking about Ertz being older for one more year. I don't know. Yeah, Goddard is getting a lot of hype, Tony. You were right. But, wow. Okay, Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb could be a top 5. He like Damian Williams and Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's top 1 to 5 potential. Damian Williams, Nick Chubb, both have 5 to 10 value. But you have to cuff them to Kareem Hunt. If you don't get Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together, you're going to potentially have that, like, leave me hanging at the end of the year. He screwed me. You know, damn it, why did I spend my pick on Nick Chubb? He was a top 5 to 10 running back almost the whole year. And in week 10, he goes out and leaves me hanging. You have to keep the two together or don't go after Chubb at all. If you can't hold a running back like Hunt on your roster because you have 5 running back spots, then Chubb is not the pick for you. You need to pick a safer running back that can have standalone value. And I know you're going to argue if you love Nick Chubb and you don't have Kareem Hunt and you're pissed off about that and you're not going to see straight and you're going to be blind with your blinders on and say, well, I don't need him because you can't get him. That would tend to be the person that argues with me about it. They have no chance to getting Hunt, so they have to argue it. You're setting yourself for disaster. Chubb is an aggressive runner that isn't as good in the passing game. He's going to be amazing. I cannot emphasize that enough. But his style of play, his huge frame, that aggressive style with the huge frame, and the fact that they won't have Hunt and they're going to use him a ton in the beginning of the year, he will have a higher likelihood of injury than most elite running backs. So having Hunt, who is just as good, if not better, because he's a good receiving back, cuffed to him, why would you not want that if you're a Chubb owner? I don't get that. There's people out there that actually say, I'm drafting Chubb and I'm not going to go after Hunt. I refuse to own a running back that isn't going to play half a season. Like, that's the weirdest thing in the world. If you're in a 5 running back roster league where your maximum running backs you can own is 5, then yes, again, you can't really roster a running back like that, and you shouldn't draft Chubb. Draft a safer player. But when you have the ability and flexibility and you're really going to stash let's use Sterling Shepard again because he's such a high-ranked player right now for whatever crazy reason. You'd rather have a Sterling Shepard than a Kareem Hunt to secure your running back 1 that guarantees you top 5 to 10 running back appeal? Like, that's madness to me. Another question. Trade 3 2020 first rounders for MVS. And MVS for Michael Thomas. Yes. Well, it depends. Where are the 220? Could one of them be the first overall pick? Could 2 of them be top 3? I kind of need to know that information, Chris. If they're all late or like 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, or 5th, 6th, or 7th picks overall or later, and be honest about it. Don't just, tell me, yeah, they're probably late when there's a really good chance they could be early. Give me I can only diagnose your problem if I have the full truth. Don't let bias interject itself. And yeah, so in our expert draft, this is what he's alluding to. David Johnson went 1.01 in our draft, which is crazy high. Like absolute insanity. I've never heard of David Johnson going that high ever. Not even in a mock draft with a Cardinals owner or a Cardinals drafter. Homer. I've never seen it. But he did. He got taken by the counselor at 1.01. You know, we'll see what happens. But it was crazy high. Another question. Breeze, Kamara, Kittle, Lindsey for Barkley, Kelce, Mahomes. Breeze, you just hurt my brain. Breeze, Kamara, Kittle, Lindsey. Kamara, Kittle, Barkley, Kelce, Mahomes. You got to take Mahomes, Kelce, Kittle. You got to take Barkley, Kelce, Mahomes. You have to. Those are three. You're talking about arguably the best player at each position. Yes, I do like Kittle a lot. I think Kittle could be near as good as Kelce, but you have arguably the number one QB, the number one running back, the number one tight end. And really, you're giving up a QB that won't be, I think, close to Mahomes at the end. You have a running back that's at least equal to Kamara or right there, and a tight end that's at least equal. So you're getting a huge advantage by just letting Lindsey go. Go do that. What's up, Oliver? You guys always ask good questions. I can't even get to my topic half the time because you throw out a lot of good questions that I have to stop for. Would you ever set up a followers league where followers and you play? Yes, I'm doing that. It's going to, maybe I'll do a YouTube one too. I was going to do one on Instagram. I need someone to run it because I just don't have time. Chris, thanks for subscribing, by the way. I just got an alert. I will do a YouTube one. So do I have any volunteers? Oliver, I trust you a ton. Not that I don't trust everybody in here, but I mean, I know you would run it well. And it's so hard to be a commissioner. It's a hard thing to ask anybody to do. So Oliver, no problem, Gary. They're most likely going to be high first rounders. So really good picks, Chris, you mean? Then I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't think it's a bad move because I give up the number one overall pick for Mike Thomas most likely. Next year is going to be a good draft though. That's a tough one, man. I think you can't do it with two of them. Try and keep the one you think is going to be the highest. So Oliver, if someone like Oliver that I know in here, have had in the YouTube chats for a while wants to run the league, if you guys want to do a YouTube followers and then I'll join in, so we'll have if you want to do a 14, we can do it. You're down? Okay, so maybe Oliver will run it because Oliver has been a staple in here. I trust him to run it. We'll see, Oliver. Okay, let me. And I have a couple other people that might have their hat in the ring for that. So if you don't want to feel pressured to do that, you're definitely going to be in it, Oliver. I'll tell you that. Just for even volunteering, you'll be in it. Okay, so maybe we'll do 13 other people and then myself if we want to make it 14. I like 12 team leagues better, or 12 owner teams. 12. Owner tweet. Should I just close down for the night? I can't even talk. This throne league has been driving me nuts. 12 team leagues better, but I'll do a 14 because I think that maybe gets more, it gets more people interested because they can maybe get a chance to get in. So we'll do a YouTube one. Maybe I go live sometime and we do a contest in here to see who can, jump in quickest to join or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, let's chat more about it. Where were we? I'm so tired. Who was here? I know Oliver was here. Who was here when I did my live 24-hour straight show? I literally in this chair where I have a standing desk, so I stood too. For 24 straight hours, I did a show on YouTube. Now, it only lets you do 8 hours at a time, so I had to restart all the time. I'm going to do it differently this time, but I think in August I'm going to do another one. Don't tell Miss Smitty. She will have she'll flip a gasket when she finds out that I'm going to do another show, but I'm going to do a 24-hour live stream again. Let me whisper that. The sound will carry. I have my studio built in my house, so I'm going to do another 24-hour straight live stream, but this time I'm going to be smart about it. And I'll tell you and fill you in more as we go. But if you weren't here, it was crazy. Oliver can tell you, I literally took I don't know, Oliver, how many bathroom breaks did I take? I think it was 4 or 5 1 or 2 minute bathroom breaks. I had a delivery from one of the sponsors who delivered a ice chest of monsters for me. So I left for a minute to do that. I'm going to do it differently this time, and it's going to be smart. But it was crazy event. It was when I first launched the show. Smitty, Gary says, sometimes I drag them over before I read them. So, Smitty, your channel is the best. It's nice to interact with you about fantasy football. Thank you, sir. I like being here. You know what I did? Why I decided to do this show the way I do it is when I first started. I mean, I definitely started with good intentions, but when you do this stuff, you worry so much about your views. You got to get to 1,000. Then when you get to 1,000, you got to get to 10,000. And of course I want to get there, and that's the whole point. You get sponsorship, you get, ads, you get bigger, the opportunity grows. The more income I bring in from my channel, my show, my brand. And if you haven't, subscribe to sleeperu.com right here. Sleeperu.com. $29. You can email me all year for advice, get rankings, all that. So that's a big part of my brand. The fantasy football show is an entirely new one. And when I started, February 21st, good memory. When I first started doing this, I lost sight for a month or two of why I do it and what kind of content I want to do and how I want to do my show, because I'm trying to, do I got to get a keyword video out there and hit this or hit that? And I got to a point where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do pretty much a video a day, or at least, one video every 2 days or whatever schedule I end up settling on, I got to love it, man. And interacting with you guys, so I decided to do more lives. So now I do more lives than I ever did before. The lives aren't as good a production value, but I enjoy it, man. I have fun. I love interacting with you guys. I mean, look at this. We're 34 to 50 people in the room constantly, and it's freaking, 1 a.m. Eastern? But I love interacting with you guys. I love talking and answering questions. I do it full time. I'm on CBS Sports Radio. And I've done that for going on 15 or 16 years. 14, I think it's 15 going on 16 years. The show itself has been going 23 years with Russ Bliss. And we are the longest running fantasy football radio show in the world, on the planet. And that's how I started my career on that radio show, dropping bold predictions. And it turned into me creating my site. And then sleeperu.com has been, my home. And now the fantasy football show is the branch of sleeperu.com where I do my video show, because I did radio for 15 years. So that's how I kind of got into the industry, but it's through the radio show and then just dropping bold prediction after bold prediction. And that's kind of been my thing. And my gut instinct for this stuff is pretty good. You can ask my followers. Don't ask me. Don't take my word for it. Go to sleeperu.com where you can see testimonials. But that's my style, the bold predictions. It doesn't it rubs people the wrong way at times because Todd Gurley stuff. Todd Gurley's going to bust. Talking about that in January did not go over well with a lot of people, but now everybody's on board pretty much with him being at least super limited. We're addicted to fantasy. I am too. So back to the original thing that I was saying, and then I'll get back to the rankings. I don't mean to sidetrack here. I don't know if you guys care or are interested about this stuff. If you're not interested and you wanted to move on to fantasy, tell me, because I want to make sure you guys get what you want. But I started in February or March. I started thinking to myself, I'm not having fun doing it because I was just trying to get a video out there with the keywords and hit this topic. And then I just sat down. I'm like, well, why did I start 15 years ago? And it was because I loved it, and that was number one. And number two was no one else was doing what I wanted, which was creating year-round content. I wanted to play in dynasty leagues, and nobody was talking about ranking. I would, when I was 14 years old, when I first started playing fantasy football, I would go. I remember when I was 16, though, I was working at a ranch market, and I'd go into the freezer and I'd sit on a milk crate. and I get a piece of paper from like the produce section or whatever, and grab a pen from the flower section or whatever. And I remember this is when I was 16, so I'd sit on a crate and I'd literally do my rankings. This was like February, or March, so the NFL Super Bowl happened, and I'm sitting here just rewriting my running back rankings over and over again. Every day I'd have a different like ranking. I'd rank one guy over the next guy. And I just, like, I was obsessed with creating content on my own for myself. And when I would look for content and it wouldn't be there when I was about 20. So, God, I don't know how old I was when I started then. It was in my early 20s. And I was like, where is the content, the year-round content? Where is the dynasty rankings? Why isn't anybody ranking the top 20 running backs for 2000, or for 19, whatever it was back then? No, it was 2000. Why aren't they ranking it now? And I'm like, I've got to create something. There's got to be a site, and if it's not out there, I got to figure it out and make it myself, where somebody can literally look at rankings year round and they'd be completely updated, because my friends thought I was crazy. So anyways, that's how I started in the business. Is I wanted to have a place where I could go, if I was looking for that information, where somebody was ranking and doing rankings year round. And I knew there were people out there like me that were that crazy, that wanted to start ranking right away. And dynasty leagues weren't huge back then in 2004, 2005. Hey, Smitty, which one of these wide receivers do you prefer, David Moore or Robert Foster? Robert Foster by a mile, Hazelnut. I love Robert Foster. I'm not big on David Moore. I didn't know if you were going to say DJ Moore or David Moore there. So if you meant David Moore, then yeah, I'm not. I mean, Foster could be huge. Matthew. C. Jake. Great job, my football brother. This is a great show you are creating. Thank you, sir. You're here from the ground up, my friend. This show is going to go to the top. I promise you. I'm no rookie. I know what I'm doing with it. I know how to market it. I've had sleeperu.com for a long time. I've been in the business 15 years. We will make this thing big. But the important part for me was when I started it, I didn't want to go down the wrong path and worry so much about views. If you guys love it, I know it's going to be successful. If I myself would watch it, glad to have you, Tony. If I myself would watch it and crave that information, then I know it's going to be successful. I'm not going to worry about how many views something gets. I mean, it lets me know what content's responding. So when we have 30 to 50 people in the room constantly, I know the lives are working. Have Gurley, Kamara, this is from Matthew, Gurley, Kamara, Cook, Damian Williams, Derrick Henry, Jordan Howard, and Penny on one of my dynasty teams. And out of these guys, Smitty, who would you trade? Gurley, without hesitation. And I love the rest of them. I'd trade Penny or Howard if you could, but I like Henry if you can get a lot for him right now. His value seems to be climbing. But don't trade Damian Williams. Go get Kareem Hunt, though. Or I'm sorry, Kareem Hunt. Go get Darwin Thompson. I'm already thinking Chiefs. Go get Kareem Hunt anyways. Go get Darwin Thompson if you can. I don't know if you could trade Howard or Penny to get Thompson, but I think you need to get the rookie to handcuff to Williams. Madison would be a good handcuff for Cook. Kamara, I mean, you could go get Lat Murray, but I think if you secured those up, you'd be pretty good. For Gurley, go try and get an undervalued Mike Evans. Go get a Pat Mahomes. 10K or bust. Well, I need your help. Let's get to 10K by December. That's my goal. My goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers by December. I think it'll be one of the fastest climbs in the fantasy industry in terms of these types of channels and shows, but very doable in my opinion, given how fast we've grown so far. When we first started in February, I did that show, and anybody that was there will know, but I did that show in my 24-hour live stream with the goal of getting 1,000 subscribers by the end of that show. And we didn't come close because we just started. But it was a great starting point, a great place to launch the show from. It got a lot of interest. People were interested in it. But we started to grow like crazy the last couple months. And it's because of you guys. It's because of you guys liking things, It's because of you guys sharing it. I know you don't want to tell all of your friends, but you could tell people by the water cooler at work that you play in some really random league with, or you don't play in a league with at all. Spread the word. Let people know about it. Be as unselfish as you can. It will only help us grow. So my question would be to you, if you're telling yourself, I don't know that I want to spread the word, what value would I get out of that? Telling people where I go to get my content. My answer to you would be, do you want a 10 to 2 show? Do you want a show that's literally on from 10 to 2 every day? I'm not saying that would be the exact time frame I would pick, but my goal is to bring you like literally the first legit YouTube, or maybe we take it and get signed and I go somewhere, you know, and do it too. But do you want the first like everyday show that you can count on? Like, I produce videos and you guys look forward to the lives. Imagine if I was here 10 to 2 every day. That's my goal. If you help me get to a certain level, that's going to be my intention and what I want to do. And if I don't do that, I'll be doing something bigger, so don't worry. I have the 11th pick, says Watkins. And my 4 pick are Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. You mean you have to pick from those 4? I have the 11 pick, and my 4 pick are Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. What do you mean? You have to keep any of those guys? Another question here from Matthew. Already got AB, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes on my team, but good idea about Darwin. Dude, you got Pat Mahomes as well, and those wide receivers. What are you playing? What team does your grandma have, Matthew? Did you leave her any players? I'm not letting my league know about you. I got the upper hand. Again, but you have to understand, there's other people you can tell. You could walk into a Fry's Food and Drug, or I don't know if you guys have those where you are. You could walk into an In-N-Out Burger or wherever and just go, sleeperu.com. Do something to help grow the channel with a bunch of random people. So on that note, I'm giving away a free lifetime membership to sleeperu.com. Free lifetime membership to the best entry video, 4 to 10 second clip of you promoting the fantasy football show. So whether it's you write it on your forehead and walk into a random room of people, yell on top of a chair or a table, sleeperu.com and the fantasy football show. I had somebody go into a food court of a mall and scream it. They're a leading candidate so far. One guy etched a sign out of metal, steel, and then Nick sang a song on his guitar, which I haven't forgot about Nick or anybody watching. I'm still putting together that reel of all the entries. But the best entry will win a lifetime membership to sleeperu.com. Never pay for fantasy football advice again from me. If you want to send me, okay, I can't wait to see your entry. Send me it in an email, Smitty, at the domain name. So Smitty at the domain name. Send me the email of the video clip, 4 to 10 seconds of you promoting the fantasy football show and sleeperu.com. I won't be picky if it's amazing. If you just say the fantasy football show, it's going to be fine. But the best entries will be voted upon, and I will give a free lifetime membership to sleeperu.com to the best promotion video, 4 to 10 seconds. Get creative, be safe, don't do anything reckless or illegal, but the best entries will be voted on, and then I will, and if I love your entry, like there's one person that did something, I'm going to give them a free 2020 membership anyways, just for being so awesome, even if they don't win. So can't wait to see the entries. Please enter. It'll be amazing. I'll put it on YouTube. Your video will get out there and people will see it. So it'll be freaking amazing. They're great entries so far. Okay, if I missed your question, please repost it. I didn't mean to skip it. Matthew, yeah, championship here. I come. This is the third year league and just been lucky seeing the future on the team. Wow, it's a great team, man. Is it 12 team or 10? Okay, let's get back to the rankings. So we're looking right here, guys. These are expert consensus rankings, not mine. I probably want to make this background red here because I don't want people to think these are my rankings, because it seemed like that was the case when a few of you walked in. So these are not my rankings. These are expert consensus rankings. we got as far as Nick Chubb, I think. Todd Gurley, way too high. What is Todd Gurley still doing in anyone's top 25, let alone all of the experts? There's probably 100 here that have been average, and somehow Todd Gurley's name is still in the top 18. That's ridiculous. I don't get it at all. And yeah, he's now going to be ranked even higher because of the new news that, oh, you know, he's maybe not even hurt. That's what he said. Whatever. Dalvin Cook at 19. Amazing value. That's the one guy that can rank in the top five overall come the end of the year that's still ranking down in that 18-plus range. Freaking fantastic value. Dalvin Cook at number 19 overall. Mike Evans, I love at 20. Antonio Brown is fantastic value at 21. George Kittle is too high for my liking here because I let him fall to 26 or beyond because I want to take him at 3.01 or beyond and then get a steal. And if he goes earlier, so be it. But Kittle is amazing value. T.Y. Hilton should not be a second rounder in my opinion, not because I don't think he could earn it, but he has to have an amazing year, stay healthy, and then at that point he's earning that value. If he has a great year, he doesn't have the upside and the home run ability that, let's say, Antonio Brown has, where Antonio Brown can disappoint. So if Antonio Brown's up here, you know, top 4 to 7 wide receiver on a great year, and on a bad year he ranks down like at 25 overall, whereas Hilton has to have an amazing year to reach where Antonio Brown's ceiling is, or floor is. You got to think about that when you're drafting. Like, where's the player's ceiling? So with Antonio Brown, he could be top 7 overall. He could be. I'm not saying he will be. The likelihood of that is probably low, but he has that potential. T.Y. Hilton is not going to be a top 5, top 7 overall player. So who's got more home run ability? That's what you got to look at every single time you draft a player. So those of you that are in a draft right now or you're going to draft, think to yourself at every pick, can he explode? Could he? Not will he for sure, but can he explode from this value? If the answer is yes, then that's a great pick. If the answer is, well, if he has a really good year, he could earn this value, then you're reaching really high. You're taking Cook at 15, there would be nothing wrong with that at all. Gary, Mixon, Chubb, or Lindsey? Chubb, then down here Mixon, then down here Lindsey. Lindsey could be as good as Mixon. Mixon could be as good as Chubb. But Chubb up in the top 5 to 10 for running backs is only if you cuff him to Kareem Hunt. If you don't cuff him to Kareem Hunt, I like Mixon and him about the same, which is lower than most people by about 8 to 10 spots. Roger, I don't know what the hell is going on with Ertz being ranked at 41. These are not my rankings. These are expert consensus rankings. Right at the top it says that. I don't understand why he's so low. I get it, he's getting older, and I know that everyone loves Goddard, but I mean, Ertz at 41 is kind of head-scratching to me. Good value. I'd probably take him. Normally, I pass on Ertz because I don't want to take him in the third round where he's normally going. So I don't know why he's ranking that low, but that's pretty good value. So Kittle, again, I love getting him in third, so don't take him that high. Hilton, take him in the late third. Don't take him at 23. If somebody takes him in the 20s, so be it. AJ Green's way too high at 25. He normally goes in the late third. So the experts are ranking him way freaking too high. Marlon Mack at 26 over on this side of the screen now. We're over on this side, the second half of the top 50. Way too high. Cooper, in my opinion, way too high. Damian Williams at 28 I love because to me, I'd take him at like 25 overall, which would be at 3.01. I'd take him probably at the tail end of the second because he could be a top 5 to 10 running back like we talked about over and over and over. But I love to get him later in the third as my third drafted player. If you walk out with, again, I talked about this earlier, my favorite third round strategy, and I normally hate the third round. This year I love it because of 3 names. Pat Mahomes in the middle to late third round pick. Kittle at the top and Damian Williams at the top. I love those 3 guys, and I take them time after time after time if they're available. Derrick Henry at 29 overall is kind of high, but I think he can earn it for sure. Leonard Fournette, like that value or not. It's not horrible, but I just don't want to draft him this year. He failed everybody last year. He was my #1 bust prediction for the entire year. Nailed that one, and it was my only bust prediction on my top 10 bold predictions. Tony, if you just got over to sleeperu.com and you're checking it out, because Tony just subscribed while we were watching, appreciate it, Tony. Tony's already just a madman, just dropping stuff left and right here for the show, and I appreciate it, man. Tony, you can see that Leonard Fournette was on last year's bold predictions, and if he was in my top 10 bold predictions as a bust, you know that I'm not going to be high on him this year because he's done nothing in the offseason to earn a higher ranking. Adam Thielen at 31 is okay. Hit that thumbs up if you're in the room, guys. We got like 35 to like 50 people in the room constantly, only 22 thumbs up. Please hit that thumbs up. It helps me a lot. Thielen's too high at 31. I think they're scaling back a little bit. Passing. I mean, the Vikings used their current offense they're using for 2020 or 2019. Sorry, I'm tired. They used the same offense that they at the end of the year last year that they're deploying this year, and you saw Thielen's workload get scaled back quite a bit. He was actually not very productive the last half of the year, the last portion of the year where they implemented their new offensive scheme. It goes a lot through Dalvin Cook. They'll still throw. I think Thielen will still be pretty good, but I don't want him as my third drafted player. I think it just feels like a lot of risk. Diggs, same thing there. It's hard to imagine them both going to the same place. Thank you for the thumbs up, guys. Patrick Mahomes, I love anywhere in the third round. I don't care what people say. I don't need to beat a dead horse on that. I have content all over the place on why drafting Pat Mahomes in the third is not a bad idea, and I can explain it really briefly here and just tell you that look at the names after Pat Mahomes on this list. If you are saying to yourself, okay, Smitty, I like what you're saying here and there, but I have to admit, all I hear from people over and over again across the industry, from people that are just fantasy football drafters and owners and people that are in the industry as so-called experts and writers, I hear from them over and over, Smitty, that you should wait on a quarterback. And that's all people regurgitate over and over again. But look at the names below this. So you got Pat Mahomes here at 33. Freeman. I like Freeman. But can you live without Freeman? Yeah, you can draft a running back. Look down low here. Mark Ingram at 50. Are you telling me that Freeman at 34 is like heads and shoulders above Mark Ingram here? Or Philip Lindsay at 44, or Kerryon Johnson, who typically goes like in the 50s or 60s. But my point being, these players right here are all very questionable. I like Cooks. I like Aaron Jones. I wouldn't be opposed to taking Aaron Jones if you wanted a running back there. But Edelman, Galladay I like a lot, but Michelle, Lindsay, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Chris Godwin, what name in here from Pat Mahomes down? And I want you to answer me honestly in the chat. Tell me what you think. What name do you see below Patrick Mahomes that you're saying to yourself, oh my God, this guy's going to win me my league. If I don't have him, I'm destroyed. I can't replace this player down below. I can't find an Ingram to replace this. What player from Patrick Mahomes? I'm not even taking out a name. I'm using this exact list to prove my point. From 33 down, there's not one name on there that I say to myself, well, if you like Luck, then insert Luck here. There's not one name, not one, that I say to myself, oh my God, I'm going to regret not taking this player because I took the best player in fantasy football. I took the one player. Now, if you don't think Pat Mahomes is that good, let's say you think Luck. So Watkins says Luck. If Luck is your Mahomes, Watkins, then use Luck in this example. So you should be taking Luck. Well, Luck falls about to the top of the fourth, so wait if you can, because you can. But Mahomes is going in the third. So for me, it's like every time I take Mahomes, I don't regret it at all. Because the player I take where everyone's taking their QB is like a Tyler Boyd. There are a ton of players that I like that fall that I feel can replace any of these players right here. So my Mahomes it's going to crush the person's QB that takes a QB in the 6th, 7th round enough that I feel like the player I get to replace the player that I'm passing on here, it's not even close. That's my strategy for why Pat Mahomes going early is not a bad move. Now, are there times where I say, okay, even with that logic there, Smitty, is there a way that you would avoid taking Mahomes in, like, let's say, if Kittle fell? Yes, if Kittle fell right here at 33, Damian Williams fell, and if either of those guys fell, I'm trying to see if somebody else might fall. Antonio Brown, like if he fell or something, to my third rounder, then I would take Antonio Brown, Kittle, Damian Williams, maybe over Pat Mahomes, because you can get Aaron Rodgers in the 4th, you can get Baker Mayfield in the 6th, sometimes 7th, 5th in many cases. I love having Baker Mayfield, Aaron Rodgers, or Pat Mahomes. I want to own one of those three in every single league I do this year, and I'm going to own a little bit of them all over. So don't think there isn't a scenario where I want to take Aaron Rodgers in the 4th, because there are. Risky, not 100%. Might see Warren. Oh, you might be answering somebody else. Chris says, I definitely agree with the Pat Mahomes take. Thank you. And it's funny how much pushback, Chris, I get on that, like, all the time. I get blasted across the industry, not just from fantasy football owners that don't really think it out. They just keep spitting out and regurgitating the same old thing over and over. You don't take a QB early, Smitty. Oh my God. Nobody does that. That's crazy. Don't you know that you don't take... I love that. That's the one line I get the most. Smitty, don't you know that you don't take a QB early? Don't you know that? And I'm like, why don't you just take over my show? Oh my God, where have you been? Like, for 15 years, you come in and you grace me with your knowledge that you don't take a QB early. Don't I know that? It's like, it's so funny. And it's amazing that people don't think it out. Like, I am not, let me make sure I say this correctly. I am not saying waiting on a QB is bad. I actually like that move too, because you can win multiple ways. You can win 100 different ways. My waiting would be Aaron Rodgers in the 4th or Baker Mayfield in the 6th or 7th. That's the most I wait. And I draft every single one of those, I draft those 3 guys, I think, on every league I have. And I haven't missed yet on getting one of them. If I wait and I don't take Mahomes, I usually have landed either Baker or Rodgers. Free Brady says, why Baker? Heard a lot of different viewpoints, just wondering. Okay, great question. And Baker, you're not alone, and that's not a dumb question, because Brady, you're not alone, because I've heard and seen Baker be overlooked. I don't really know how. I guess similar to Pat Mahomes. So, Free Brady, to fill you in on, like, if you don't know a lot about my content, my number one bold prediction last year was that Pat Mahomes would be a top 1 to 5 QB in fantasy football, and I wrote it before the season even ended, the season prior. Sometimes I do 12 bold predictions, and I don't do 100, I don't do 150. I do 12 insanely bold predictions, and I've been super accurate on them to the point that people keep coming back. People wouldn't come back if I didn't land them. And I said to draft Pat Mahomes as your starter, and he would be a top 1 to 5 QB. I wrote it back in, I think, November or December, and I said it on CBS Sports Radio. Tony, if you haven't heard me on CBS Sports Radio, during the year, every Tuesday night, I'm on CBS Sports Radio. I'll give you the URL. You'll see it. I'll post it in here. You can listen live. You can call in. And I know Tony will call in because Tony's already immersed in the channel. I love it. But on that show, I talked about it in November, saying that, guys, I'm dropping my first bold prediction of the coming year. Pat Mahomes will be a top 1 to 5 QB. I don't know why people didn't see that coming, because he had shown flashes of it. I'd watched a lot of film on him, but he had a lot of weapons. And then in the preseason, people started to take notice that, hey, this guy could be for real. But yet he fell to like the 9th and 10th round still in late drafts. And I think that Baker Mayfield is set up so very similar to the rise of Pat Mahomes. He has all the weapons in the world, an offense that's going to air it out, a coach that believes in him. He's happy with his coaching staff and his situation. They're going to flourish in Cleveland. I've got my Brown Super Bowl ticket right here on the wall. I actually got that. People were I was really high on the Browns, and I've always liked the Browns, but I've always been high on them. And heading into the offseason, talking about them being a potential deep playoff team with maybe some possibility of a Super Bowl appearance, and that was before Odell Beckham Jr. was traded. And I told everybody, Baker Mayfield's #1 wide receiver before the NFL draft. I said it well before the NFL draft. I said Baker Mayfield's #1 wide receiver is not yet on the roster, and that's why I was so high on him. But you give him all the weapons he has: Odell, Landry, still got Duke, Chubb, and Kareem Hunt when he comes back. David Njoku is going to be a top 5 tight end. You want a breakout sleeper tight end, David Njoku is going to be fantastic. Top 5 breakout tight end. So to answer your question, Free Brady, call it a mix of gut instinct, and I like that because you can't really argue someone when they say they got a gut instinct about a guy, because that's what I have. But there's a lot of evidence there too. There's a lot of players and value in breakouts. Okay, Tony Smitty, first video of yours I saw included you defending Pat Mahomes in the third. That's what drew me in. Not that I always take Mahomes, but that you're willing to ignore the other experts. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate you, and I'm so glad you found us, man. Smitty, sorry, forgot. Gary's asking a question here. Forgot his name at Carolina running back or Dallas Elliott. Who do you draft first? The Carolina running back? You talking about McCaffrey or Zeke? I take Zeke before I take McCaffrey. I'm not saying that McCaffrey is going to bust, so let's pump the brakes on that if you think that's where I'm going with this. I'm not. But I have to say the added weight gain for me concerns me a little bit with McCaffrey, because why fix what's not broken? Why gain all of that weight and hit the ground over and over and over again at a heavier weight? It increases the injury. Even though he might absorb more when he gets hit upright, it's still, he's not going to be used to hitting the ground over and over at increased weight. So it gives me a little bit of like, I don't know, I'm a little gun shy taking him ahead of somebody like Zeke, but Zeke could get suspended a game or two. Who knows? He may not get suspended at all. Some people think that him getting suspended would be ridiculous, but guess what? We've seen that happen. It's not like we're using our judgment of whether he should get suspended. It's the NFL and what the NFL doesn't like. The NFL doesn't like to be made to look fool. Okay. However, keep in mind how much the Browns, how bad. Let's see. Okay. Kenyon Drake. Where do you rank Kenyon Drake? I don't know right now, man. Way lower than everybody else. People are drafting him in like the 4th and 5th round on time. At times, it's crazy. Way too high. In one of my leagues, I have Deshaun Watson as my #1 QB and Big Ben sitting there on the bench. I'm going to be able to play matchups all year long, so you can compete with Mahomes most weeks. I don't think, I mean, the problem you're going to have, Richard, is you have 2 really good quarterbacks, and when you play the right one week in and week out, there's a good chance you're going to be like pulling your hair out every other week, because you're going to be playing matchups and not landing them, because it's not as easy as playing the matchups. I think sometimes when you're talking about a QB at Watson's level, he could run for 2 TDs on a game where he wasn't supposed to score as much. So, Richard, good idea. I think you'll be fine. You have 2 very good options. Don't think I'm saying you don't, but it might be harder than you think to land that matchup week in and week out. I myself would rather have Mahomes, but depending on what you did with your 3rd rounder, you might be sitting in an awesome position and did the best thing possible. So stick to your guns, and you don't have to own Mahomes in every scenario. That's a good scenario. What you have right there is a good look at QB. Who would you draft at the 6th pick, DJ or Gordon or Bell? I take Gordon if I'm just given that 1 pick and I don't have that like repeated scenario in another draft. Otherwise, I kind of split it, because I'm not too sure I'm banking on any one of those guys like in multiple leagues, because they all come with a risk. DJ Moore or Tyler Boyd? I'd take Boyd. I think Boyd's going to have a big year. Adrian Peterson worth a pick. Will Geis be healthy? I think that AP is going to start the year. Geis Geis needs a little time to get. If they throw Geis out there, he's going to get hurt. He's going to compensate for that ACL tear, pull a hamstring. Geis is not ready. Whether he says he's ready, he's not ready. Only Adrian Peterson can come back from an ACL tear and have as good a year as he did. Geis is going to need more time. If they give Geis half a year to stay healthy and get back, Geis could go on a tear at the end of the year. If they rush Geis into it, Geis is going to get hurt. AP could still have another good year. I wouldn't rule it out. He's AP. He's one of those guys I'm never going to bet against until he retires. But I wouldn't draft AP high. I'm just saying I wouldn't rule it out. You have a friend who works for Cleveland. He says game 9 on lots of 20 personnel. Says Hunt is going to be Kamara and Chubb will be Ingram. I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it, Jackson, and that's why you got to own both, man. And if you own both, you might be able to play both, end of year. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt is one of my favorite, and I'll admit, I didn't quite, when the offseason began, I think I even have a couple videos out there or some content somewhere saying that I would avoid Chubb, I think, at second round value. That's what I initially started thinking at the beginning of the year. I'll be honest. I'll tell you when I change directions. Changing directions doesn't mean you're hypocritical or you're backtracking. Even experts, think about yourself. When have you been I don't like, or I'm indifferent about this player, and then boom, one day you're like, man, you know what? I heard something that really hit home with me. That happens to us all. And I think if an expert can't, and a so-called expert can't admit that, then, what are we doing here? And why would you trust me if I told you that I didn't do that? You wouldn't believe me. And I'm always honest with you guys. And Chubb, to me, has grown on me so fast in the last 2 months because of the handcuff situation. I think that Chubb and Hunt together, I have to own that in multiple leagues. I cannot wait because, number one, Chubb could get hurt early and it burn you, but it's one of those scenarios where you feel like it's as safe as it can be for your running back, low-end running back 1, and you're paying running back 2 value. But Chubb and Hunt could be so good, and you could use both of them at times. I love it. It's one of my favorite second-round approaches in 2019 right now. Really is. Let's go through the rest of this. Okay, so Mahomes at 33, absolutely love. Devonta Freeman could earn that 34 overall value, guys. He is a good running back that has a concussion concern, injury risk. Yeah, well, that's why you're drafting him at 34 overall. If you didn't think there was a risk involved, don't you think you'd see him at top 10? He's still one of the highest paid running backs in the entire league. So they're going to use him. Coleman's not there. Ito Smith is very cheap. You can cuff the two together very easily. Don't be afraid to draft Freeman in that 35 to 40 range. He's a great value there. Aaron Jones is a good value right at 35. I'd take him as high as 32. Talked about earlier with someone's team, I forget who it was, that had Aaron Jones, and I love Aaron Jones, man. I think was that Tony? Yeah, Tony. So Aaron Jones, go read what I have on Sleeper U about him. Go to the bold predictions and look for him. Can't wait for his big year. So great value. Brandon Cooks feels about right there. Maybe a touch early. Wood, same thing. I like him there. Edelman, I don't get. I know he was efficient last year before he got hurt. But Edelman to me is a walking injury, and I don't take him anywhere near that 38 overall value. Not even close. Kerryon Johnson has top 10 running back appeal, but with a lot of risk because, is he going to stay healthy? Will they start him? Will they give him enough carries? What will they be doing? They're going to run a ton. Detroit's going to go away from the pass, which I think Golladay will still get his, but Stafford's going to have a lesser year. Make sure you prepare for that if you're banking on Stafford in that passing attack. But they're going to run, just like what they did with Marshawn Lynch. That coaching staff, they're going to deploy that kind of aggressiveness with the run. They're going to run a ton. And that might leave enough room for Kerryon to get, somewhat of a running back by committee split up workload because he can deliver on even a 60-40 in Detroit because Detroit will be different and they'll be running. And he has a lot of appeal and could be a top 10 running back if he stayed healthy. Golladay at 40 is okay. A lot of upside. But again, they're going to be throwing less. But he is the number one, and I think he'll get his no matter what. Ertz is great value at 41. I don't think he'll get that in a draft. Michelle is okay at 42. I worry about his knees. Here's my thing about Michelle. I would rather pass on Michelle and take a Lindsey, who's below him here, a Jacobs, who I even doubt a little bit. I take Jacobs over Michelle. I take maybe I take Ingram, who's at number 50 here. I take Ingram as high as like 38, 35 even. I like Ingram a lot. Ingram's a steal in the second half of this top 50. I don't like Cooper Kupp. I think Tyler Lockett's okay. He might play the slot, which will help him a lot, but he was very, very efficient, which means he had low targets but did a ton with them, and you can't rely on those kind of numbers. In his situation, I know Doug Baldwin retired, but DK Metcalf's there. His situation isn't that much different. If he goes to the slot, we'll see what happens, but I don't like Kupp. I don't like Lockett here. Godwin's pretty good. Okay. Andrew Luck's great value. O.J. Howard's okay. Ingram's a steal. But Michelle, I take Ingram in a heartbeat over him, and I also then go get Damian Harris, who is the guy that split time with Jacobs at Alabama. They were so good. That offense was so awesome. They didn't get to use either Harris or Jacobs a ton, and they were splitting time, and they're both really good running backs. There was a time where Harris was the top-ranked rookie running back in this entire 2019 rookie running back class, at least by a handful of experts out there, and I followed his ranking as we went, because part of my job is not only knowing and evaluating the incoming rookie class, but knowing where everybody's looking at him, where they're ranking him, because where the scouts are ranking him will probably determine where the NFL teams will rank him, which will probably determine what players will land in starting running back slots. So there's a lot that goes into rookie running back analysis, and receivers too, but especially rookie running backs, because receivers usually find a home to start. Running backs, you don't know the number one and number two running back. Past that, you don't know where the other guys are going to fall. They could fall into a really cloudy situation and never find the starting running back gig. Look at Love. Love got hurt, but was the number one running back, and now we don't know if he's going to ever develop or get healthy or whatever. But my point being is, I think that that Harris is very overlooked. I think Damian Harris could be a top 4 rookie running back from this 2019 class in that Patriots uniform, where they don't have a grind it between the tackles runner there. That they have White, who's going to obviously dominate the PPR work. You have Michelle, who's kind of like a White, but maybe a little more tough runner between the tackles, so they use him there. But Harris fits the mold. Harris is a between the tackles runner, a bruiser that they haven't really had in quite a while. They haven't had a running back at least as aggressive and like him. Harris could be a beast down the stretch in 2019. If you want a sleeper running back to stash that might rise up and help you during the playoffs or to make your playoff run, Damian Harris. Don't forget it. Go get him in your drafts, in your redraft leagues, your yearly league 2019 only drafts, in dynasty leagues and rookie only drafts. You can still steal him away. He's very undervalued. But that's my deep advice for the rest of the show is Damian Harris. Okay, so we went over, these are not my rankings. I repeat, these are not my rankings. These are the expert consensus rankings in the fantasy football industry. I think there's over 100 to 150 experts ranking in average into this. Even my rankings are inserted into these rankings. So there's a mix of everybody in here. These are not mine. And I have to say, to close out the show, the players that stand out the most to me for good and bad would have to be Connor way too high at 11. Mike Thomas and JuJu and Nick Chubb are steals at 15, 16, and 17. Todd Gurley way too high at 18. Cook a steal at 19. Evans and Brown are great at 20 and 21. Damian Williams a steal at 28. Mahomes very much worth his 33 overall. I don't care what anybody says. Devonta Freeman solid at 34. Aaron Jones is solid at 35. And Mark Ingram a steal at number 50. That's how I look at that consensus rankings. What goes through my mind when I stare at rankings, like who's popping out, who's looking good, who's looking like way too much of a risk. Like Edelman at 38's completely absurd to me. Cooper Kupp coming off ACL injury, not even fully healthy, is getting ranked at 45 overall. He's a 4th rounder in a lot of leagues. So is Edelman. That is absolutely reckless, and I don't recommend it at all. Trust your gut. Take what I say, take it in, and then make your own decision. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but those are my reactions when I see a guy like Cooper Kupp and Edelman ranked as a 4th round player. You have them as your 4th drafted player. Honestly, come back and tell me you really like the look of your team walking out of a draft, because I don't think you will. Now, if you got them late, I'm not ripping on them in general. If you have Edelman as a keeper or Cooper Kupp as a keeper and you're not having to pay that kind of price tag, then I'm not talking to you or saying that you should get rid of them or anything like that. I'm just saying at 4th round value, it's crazy. And if you do own, instead of taking that in a negative way, if you own those guys, what I'm telling you is awesome. I'm telling you that Edelman and Kupp have amazing trade value right now, and that you could go and buy yourself a safer trade-in to a safer pick or player, like an Aaron Jones or a Mark Ingram for a year. You know, go get a Damian Williams. He's older running back, but for a year or two. Go get Nick Chubb in a package deal. But Cooper Kupp is completely insane. If Tyreek Hill gets suspended for anything less than 8 games, he is a league winner. Am I crazy? So no, you're not. I think you're dead on that. He could be a league winner, but depending on where you have to take him. So if you've already drafted him, like I have in the Instagram expert league that I created 2 of them. In my other league, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I think some of you are. It's not the Throne League, but in my other Instagram expert league, I got the 1.02 pick, and I was hoping Kamara would fall to me, because Kamara falls like 8 times out of 10 if you have like a top 4 pick. But Fantasy Sharks, Tony Holm, who is, a legend in fantasy football too, he took Kamara number 1, and I was pissed. So I took Barkley, and I would have took Zeke if I knew for sure Zeke wasn't going to get suspended. I just went a safe route. Took Barkley. I worry about that offense. I think that he's going to get more 8-man fronts and get more 3-and-outs than we think, but I think he'll still get his numbers. But I took Barkley at 1.02, and then I traded my 2nd and my 4th rounder for Zeke Elliott. So in this expert league full of some of the biggest writers and sites, 2 football guys, drafters are in this draft. The owner of Fantasy Sharks is in it. A couple of the biggest Instagram pages on Instagram are in it. It is a big league. I invited Matthew Berry to it, but he declined. But in this league, I have Barkley. I traded my 2nd and my 4th for Zeke Elliott. I drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 5th. I took Damian Williams in the 3rd. So my running backs are Zeke, Barkley, Damian Williams. I hope I'm remembering everything right, because I have so many leagues I'm doing. And then I took Aaron Rodgers. And then instead of taking my first wide receiver, I haven't taken a single wide receiver at this point. I can write out my team here too. So I have Barkley, Zeke, Damian, A-Rod, and so at this point I have this roster right here. Let's see here. Okay, so in this expert league, this is my roster that I have so far. So in the first round, I took Barkley, traded my 2nd and my 4th for Zeke. I took Damian in the 3rd. I traded my 4th, so I had to wait. And I took A-Rod in the 5th. And everyone's like, okay, you need a wide receiver, Smitty. And I'll put the link in the bio of this video so you can check out that or the description of this video. So you think, right? How much shit do you think I took Free Brady and Matthew and Watkins? Those of you that are asking questions right now. Wally, Chris, Tone. What kind of shit do you think I took by not having a wide receiver at this point? I can tell you a whole lot of it. And guess what I did? Guess what move I made here to piss more people off? I didn't take a wide receiver next. Who did I take next? that's who I took next. Darrell Henderson. And that didn't go over too well. A lot of people didn't like that. That ruffled some feathers pretty bad. But guess who I took next? This was like 3 days before the Tyreek Hill news broke. I took Hardman and Hill in back-to-back picks. So now my number one wide receiver is Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. And I didn't have a single wide receiver until that point. So aggressive drafting isn't... I like Kittle a lot. Aggressive drafting, if done right, can have you land a team you shouldn't have. Aggressive trading, draft pick trading, trading your second and your fourth for a guy like Zeke Elliott. You could probably get Kamara easier than you could get Zeke. So if you trade your second and your fourth rounder for Kamara, and let's say you already had a top 4 pick, that's how you build a 2-headed monster. But in this case, I look like I have a 3 or 4-headed monster. Damian Williams as my third running back. Darrell Henderson could overtake him at some point, and I could trade Williams. If you don't believe in Henderson, then insert a different player there. But that's how you make crazy trades and develop a very risky strategy, but deploy it well. So Hardman and Tyreek Hill, I shouldn't have those wide receivers. I was pretty happy with that draft. Yeah, that was football guys that gave me that trade. So and everybody said, oh, I got oh my God, you took him on that trade. How did you do that? There's an art to trading, guys, and I teach that on a lot of the videos here, and I also teach it at sleeperu.com, and you can ask me in emails. That's why Tony subscribed, because Tony knew he wanted to get email advice from me week in and week out. So let me give you an example real quickly. So I know everyone's going to say, oh, you can't land that. Smitty, I can't land that kind of trade, for Zeke. But this is just one small strategy and one way to do that. So Tone and Chris, this is probably what you would typically see a person offer, because people are conservative. People are safe. I'm not safe. I'm bold. I'm crazy. I do crazy things. But it's all thought out, calculated, and I bank on my bold predictions and I bank on my gut. So I can afford to lose a little bit along the way in order to get what I want in terms of the big guns. If you're able to cut loose some of your depth to get what you want and to land those big guns, and you have enough faith in your sleeper ability, your ability to go out and get those players that can hit home runs for you, then you can land trades like this. And what you do is you don't go up to Chris and say, hey, Chris, I'll give you my second and my fourth rounder for your first rounder, who you took Zeke already, and your sixth rounder. What do you think about that, Chris? Chris, you're going to shoot it down and say, why would I trade my sixth rounder up to the fourth to move my second to the first? No, because people are asking for almost like even swaps. What you have to do, Chris, what makes somebody bite when you give 10, 12 offers to people, what you do is you say, hey, Chris, I'll give you my second and my fourth picks for just your first rounder. You keep the fourth entirely for free. Then that gets people 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 12 will really consider that value, because people are typically more conservative than they are risky. And when you present them with a very conservative trade offer, one that makes them feel the opposite of what you make them feel like when you ask them for something crazy, they're afraid of people laughing at them. They're the kind of drafters that walk out of the draft and you literally can offer them the number 1 overall pick that you just picked for their number 5 overall pick, and they're like, I just want to see how it plays out. I want to see what happens in week 1 and use the guys that I drafted. Those are the owners that typically don't trade anything, and they only trade when it feels safe. So if you go to somebody, Chris or Tone, and you say, hey, I'll give you my second and my fourth for just 1 pick, your first rounder. That seems crazy. Yeah, 2 for 1. 2 for 1 deals work. 2 for 1 deals are how you build a 2-headed monster. So you can't get a Zeke Elliott doing what a lot of you are doing, where you say, I'll give you my 2 picks for your 2 picks. Then all people hear are, no, I'm not giving you Zeke Elliott. Then what happens, Chris, is if you do the order wrong, the order of asking, kind of like in psychology, the order of questioning is so important. if you ask somebody wrong at the wrong time in the wrong sequence and at the wrong timing, then Chris, if I come back to you and I say, hey, now I know you don't want to do the 2 for 2. What if I offered you the 2 for 1? They're already in no mode, and they're like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and pass on that. How many times does that happen where you talk trade with somebody, they're willing to do it, you push too hard, and then they say, never mind, the deal's off. Then you want to offer what they originally did, and they're like, no, the deal's off. That drives me crazy. I know that it drives you crazy. That's how people are. It's so important, the order of questioning. The psychology behind fantasy football and negotiating is like a process as old as time. And let me give you a real life example. If I came to you, Chris, and I said, hey, do you want to go to California on a road trip? Let's say we're buddies. And I'm not saying we aren't buddies. And I said, let's go on a road trip to California. And I was like, I'll drive. And Chris, you're like, okay. And I go, the only thing is, can we split gas? Chris, you're going to say, I kind of feel like a vacation and everything. Yeah, we'll split gas. And then, Chris, I call you a week later and I say, hey, Chris, that vacation's coming up. Are you excited? And you're like, yeah. And I go, hey, my car's broken. Is there any way you could drive? And then you're like, yeah, I guess so. Then all of a sudden you're driving. So when you're all of a sudden, if I would have went back that 2 weeks prior and I said to you, hey, Chris, you want to go to California and you want to drive? You would have said, hell no. You wouldn't have thought about it, not even for a second. But the foot in the door phenomenon is real. And when you're negotiating with trading, you have to get your foot in the door. You have to get that person into the yes business. So, and you have to give them, you can't give them a way out. So there's so much involved in trading and tactics and draft pick trading, and there's so much psychology involved. There's more to it than people think, and I do a lot of like training on that. There's so much entails in that, and that's why I am a trading master. Like if you are in a league with me, if we do a followers league, you're going to get about 10 to 15 offers from me in a given week. If I have the time. I do so many leagues, sometimes I'm not very active in leagues because I do so many. But that's how you trade, is through massive amount of offers, and you do aggressive things. And then my kick the can strategy is freaking phenomenal. Smitty, are you going to do a mid-round or late round rankings and analysis? You mean like kind of like this? Roger, I could definitely take a look at the 50 to 100 if that's what you mean. Not tonight, but I could definitely do that. Try and keep that in mind for another video. So good question. Anybody else have any final questions? We've been doing this live for, wow, we're on an hour and 37 minutes we've been live. And you thought I couldn't do another 24-hour live stream. I could do that in my sleep. Probably the biggest struggle I have with the 24-hour live stream when I did it, and you can look back on it. I don't recommend you watching even 10 minutes straight, but because it's a lot. No, I'm kidding. There's a lot of good stuff in that. A lot of my Todd Gurley stuff arose in that video. I talked about it for a whole month, but if you watch that, watch how much resistance I get on the Todd Gurley stuff in that video. Smitty, is Gordon worth a first or second round pick? I mean, Melvin Gordon you crush it in the second round, even if you want to trade him at that value if you get him that late. But as a top 7, yeah, he's worth it. I wouldn't take him in every league. What was I talking about? I don't know. Oh, live stream and Todd Gurley. I don't know. I forget. So, do you guys like the format of the show? Do you like that it's sometimes not scripted? Do you like doing the Q&As? What makes this show good, and what would you like to see more of? I kind of like doing the lives. I know I like to do some of the structured stuff. I think the content comes out really hard-hitting, decisive when I do more of a production release, but I love to do a live stream with you guys all the time. I think it's fun. I love to do at least one of these a week. I got an announcement coming that might help you guys out on Sundays. I'm not going to say what yet. Still kind of have the idea in the works, but stay tuned. Gary, you can't wait till I do the 24-hour live stream. I'm doing it right this time. I didn't have a lot of followers when I did it. I had just launched. I had my channel up for a good month. I started it January 1. So the Fantasy Football Show was born not even 6 months ago, or roughly 6 months ago. So this is a brand new branch off of sleeperu.com. I've been in the business for 15 years. I'm not new, but I didn't do a video show, a regular video show or anything. I did radio. I've done radio for 15 years. The entire time I've been on CBS or NBC Sports Radio. But back in February, we didn't have a lot of followers yet. And the whole goal was to get to 1,000 subscribers in that 24-hour live stream. And I think we got like a couple hundred. But it had grown. I mean, there was nothing there, so it was pretty cool. But I have to admit, I got off that show and we didn't come close to the 1,000 subs I wanted to hit on the show. If we did it now, Gary, if we did the 24-hour live stream now, it would be huge, because look at the activity that we have. 30 to 50 people in the room constantly. The show is a huge success. It's just taken a while to get there. Like any good things, it takes time. And hard work, and man, I've been grinding it out. If you look at all the videos I've produced since even that show, you would be amazed. I'm amazed looking through. There's a lot of content on this channel. If we do a 24-hour live stream, I'm not going to be so worried about people being in the room. Like, I literally was like, during the whole 24-hour live stream, I'd see like 10, 11 people constantly in the room, and I'd be so worried about having somebody leave because they show up and I'd be typing something and I wouldn't be talking, and I was afraid people would leave the room. I'm not going to worry so much about that, because I need to do some marketing while I'm doing it. If I launch a new live stream, I need to post that on Facebook, Instagram. And I was so worried about not talking to you guys that I felt like I dropped the ball on trying to get the word out as we were live. But I'm going to do a couple different things. I'm going to go outside of the house for one of the 8-hour blocks, because YouTube only lets you live stream for 8 hours at a time. And now that I have over 1,000 followers, Gary, I can go live on my phone. So I will go live on my phone for a big 8-hour block. I'll go shopping. I'll wander through Target. I'll go eat wings at a favorite wing stop. I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to give away all my plans, but if I do this in August, and my plan is to, scheduling this is pretty hard, but I think I can do it. It's going to be quite an event. And I can't wait to see the response on it this time around. And I don't regret doing it when I did it, because it helped the channel grow. But if we did it now, it would be so much more impacting. So get ready. I hope to do it in August. It's going to be amazing if I do it. I might even not guarantee that I won't fall asleep this time, before I did guarantee that I would stay up until I passed out. And I made it the whole 24 hours straight for you guys. This time I might say, look, I don't think I'm going to fall asleep, but if I want to, I might take a cat nap, and I'll be on camera, but I'm pretty sure I'll stay up. By the way, I'm going to keep her. All right, I'm going to probably jump. It's been 1 hour and 42 minutes. One of the longer live streams I've done in the last couple weeks. By the way, I'm in a keeper league and can only keep one of the following: Kelce, JuJu. I keep JuJu myself. I just feel like you're going to have a better team in the end, but you can't go wrong with Kelce or JuJu. You probably get half the people are going to tell you one, half the people will tell you another. If you guys haven't, last two things I want to talk about before I jump off is, one, if you haven't followed me on Instagram, please go over to Instagram /The Fantasy Football Show, or if you're on the app, search for The Fantasy Football Show, the same handle as on YouTube. Follow me there. We're doing the Fantasy Football Throne League that I created. It's the biggest, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fantasy football league ever. Pretty proud that I came up with this idea, and you guys are a big part of it. Some of you are already on there. But essentially the idea is this. I came up with this idea. I mean, everybody does expert leagues all the time. And as I told you, I just started the Fantasy Football Show in January, so I didn't have a ton of base right from the start. I had invited some of the biggest channels, and I invited the footballers, the fantasy footballers. I invited Matthew Berry all into this league. They all said no. I asked some of the bigger Instagram pages to join the league. They said no. I got a couple small people to hey, we might do it. Then I came up with an idea. I said, what if, Gary, we let you guys draft our teams? So what if our followers draft our team. So and Matthew Berry did get back to me and actually followed me the same day on Instagram. So that was pretty cool that Matthew Berry not only replied to me and said, hey, he couldn't do it. He's a busy guy. He can't do a 2-month-long draft. And that's how long this draft is going to be, like 2 months. It's still going right now. You can be a part of it, and I'm going to tell you how in a second. But I came with this idea to say, hey, whether it's Barry, whether it's me, whether it's the footballers, they also replied and said it was a great idea. They didn't have time. But you guys, the followers, draft our team. So my followers draft my team. There's 100,000 follower Instagram account in it. His followers draft his team, and so forth. And then it's not just a mock draft or a draft. We go to battle week in and week out together as a group, as a community. You guys help me make some of the waiver wire moves, the trades. It's awesome. And we're currently in the 8th round right now, Gary. So it's not over, but we, as a community, it's not my pick, it's our pick. We drafted Alvin Kamara at 1.04. We drafted Dalvin Cook at 2.09. We then drafted Pat Mahomes at 3.04. And then we took, we had Robert Woods. It got really thin, unfortunately, right with our 4th round pick. So he ended up being kind of a tough 4th rounder. I like Woods a lot. I do. And Woods even has an ADP of number 37 overall. But that was the starting 4 that we came out with. So get on over to Instagram. Follow me there. When we're on the clock, I go live on Instagram. And then I say, hey, who are we taking? And we all throw 4 names out, or we throw out names until I can narrow it down to 4. Then I put an Instagram poll up, and then we vote. And so we have a pretty darn good team. We got Darrell Henderson. We took him really early. I didn't nominate him. The community did, because I wanted him no matter what. But they nominated him really early, the Instagram following. And once he was nominated, I backed it because I want to own Henderson in like every league. I really believe he's the next Alvin Kamara. And so we have Henderson. We got him probably a round too early, but it's fine. I was okay with it. We just took Hunter Henry at like the 8th or 9th round. He fell pretty far. We have Sammy Watkins at wide receiver. I think we're gonna look at like Larry Fitzgerald next. I think. So it's a great league. We got really weak wide receivers considering, but we have Dalvin Cook, Patrick Mahomes, and Kamara. Pretty excited, and Robert Woods isn't a bad 4th, but like I said, we were hoping a player would have fallen that didn't. But at that 4th round, it gets really thin. I mean, take a look at this 4th round right here. I like. What are you on Instagram? I'm at the Fantasy Football Show. So this same username up here in the top left corner of the screen, that is my same handle on both YouTube and Instagram. So Gary, follow, get a part of the draft. We'll be on the clock, I'd say, in about a day and a half, 2 days. And when we're on the clock, if you turn on notifications, if you go to my profile, you can turn on notifications. You'll get notified whenever I go live, because I go live when we're on the clock. And then we have a 2 to 8 hour timer. I usually draft within about 2 hours. So I'll gather the 4 picks that you guys want, and then we'll vote on the 4 picks in my poll on my stories. And whoever wins the vote, doesn't matter. I make my case. I'll make a video and say, hey, I think we should take so-and-so. Like I was advocating for David Njoku at tight end. We got Hunter Henry. A lot of people like Henry more. I get that. I was advocating for Njoku. He did make the 4 nomination process, but we ended up, I think it was like 67, or I think now it's about 100 votes. But it's already been drafted, so people still vote even though it already happened. But 100 to like 110 was the vote in favor of Hunter Henry over Njoku. But I was hoping for Njoku. If you need a sleeper breakout tight end, David Njoku. So I dropped 2 very deep, I think. And Njoku's deep, kind of. Sometimes he goes early in the draft. But Njoku at tight end, top 5 to 10 potential, easily. Damian Harris, top 10 to 15 running back, appealed down the road, not right away. Those are 2 very good sleepers for any of you drafting here very soon, or in Dynasty and you want to trade. I love Njoku, and I love that people think there's too many mouths to feed over there, because it's going to be off the hook. in Cleveland in 2019. Cleveland and KC, very much the same type of offense in terms of like just dominating passing attack mixed with an amazing run game. It's just well-rounded aerial attack, just huge numbers coming out of both offenses in 2019. Okay, well, I think that does it. We're at an hour and 50 minutes. I'm going to probably wrap it up. It's hard when I see so many people in the room. I feel like you guys still want to talk football, and you know, I don't know when to end it. I always feel like, man, I got to stay in here for you guys. You guys got any more questions before I jump? So we talked about Mahomes. Don't be afraid to take him early. Don't be afraid to take Mayfield or Rodgers, though, in the 4th, and then Mayfield in the 6th, though. I think those are all great moves. Yeah, Mack is rising too high. I think Mack in the 2nd is pretty high. I don't like Marlon Mack anywhere near the top 24. I think Mack is a decent late 3rd, but better 4th rounder. But if he's starting to go in the high 3rd and sometimes late 2nd, then let someone else take him because there's way too much risk. He always has running back 1 appeal, I agree. But the risk is real. It's easily weighted as much risk, if not more, than it is upside at that value. Anybody else have anything else? Yeah, I should have probably put that in here. My Instagram, I could have wrote that. So, that's my Instagram handle. Oh, also, while you guys are in here, don't leave. There's a invitation I'm going to send you right now. Stay there. This is going to add me to YouTube. Now has a chat feature. It's called YouTube chat, I think. So it's kind of like an instant messenger or a DM feature. Tony, don't leave yet. Hold on, guys. Stay there. I'm going to send you a link to this new it's a YouTube DM feature. I'm not using it quite yet, but I want to get you guys on it so that when I do use it and I send out a message, hey guys, I'm doing this, or hey, there's a new draft I'm doing, I can send you guys this, and I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So let me go ahead and send you this link real quick. Link. Copy invite link. Okay. So here it is. Can you guys click on that, or is that clickable? If not, copy and paste it. But that link right there, click on it. I'm pointing in the wrong spot. Click on that link and add me to your YouTube chat feature. And I don't know what we're going to use with it yet. But once we have it in place and I start deploying things from it, you guys are going to be on that list. So, wave check. Do you think I'm not live? I don't even know how to say your name. Happa? I think that's the first time I've ever been called out for not actually being live. That's funny. Wave check, he says. What made you think I wasn't live? Because I've been doing this for an hour and 53 minutes. I'm just curious. I just think that's funny. Wave check. Do you believe me now? Happa? That's funny. He didn't think I was live. What was I saying? Oh, click that link right there. I just posted it. You're adding me to your YouTube chat, which is a brand new feature. I don't even know how we're going to use it yet. I know how to use it, but I mean, I don't know how valuable it's going to be, if YouTube will take it away or if it'll be something huge. But if you guys are added and linked up with me via that link that I just posted, it'll help me communicate and get you guys direct information very fast. And who knows how we use it. I don't even know how it's going to develop and evolve, but it sounds like a pretty damn cool idea. Okay, guys. All right, Chris. Got it. Cool. All right, guys, I am out of here. It's been kind of a long night from the phone to the computer. Well, I've been going, I think because I've been going so long, there's a delay. So I'm going to bounce out, guys. I appreciate it. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please hit the thumbs up on the way out. It'll really help the show grow. And until next time, Todd Gurley's knees good according to McVay via TMZ. Good. I'm glad people think that. Recognize real. I hope so. This is what he's saying. Right when I start to walk out the door, you got to drop it. Todd, you know I'm going to get all amped up on you. Darrell Henderson is the real deal. Get with the program. All right, guys. I appreciate you. Subscribe, follow, like, share, talk about it, and get some.